Okay, and then here I'll show how to populate some of the other smart phrases, specifically for your first daily, and how to cross that over from the eval. So as soon as I type in right knee into the subjective, it's going to populate over in the sidebar. Alright, and then so the subjective tab or area occurs. So very quickly I'm just going to hit dot knee post-op, and it's going to be my daily. There it is. Okay, and that populated a long SmartPhrase. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this information starting from the outcomes all the way down, and I'm just going to drag it into the specialty section. Shoot. So everything from clinical reported outcomes down, instead of dragging it, I'm just going to hit copy and paste. Okay, I've already populated an artificial, so if I just hit F2, it's going to jump to the top, and then I'm going to hit delete. This is an assessment that's pre-populated that will likely work for the majority of your patients. We need to populate the plan. I'm going to hit .mj plan. And then I can just orienting you so you have your criterion-based protocol. Weeks are not specified, but this will allow you to keep track of what phase the person's in immediately. I just hit F2, I hit right space, right knee. I can put in what their current symptoms are, what their pain level is, and I'm good to go. What we do need to copy some information over from the initial eval. So let me show you that. So I click on the notes section. Here's the eval that I had populated in the previous section. So I'm gonna copy over the operation date, and that will serve there. Again, I haven't populated it specifically from the operative note, but I would have just I previously would have copied and pasted, and my assessment is done for day 1. Other things that we need, if we go back to that notes tab, is we need to copy and paste our previous measurements and the precautions. So starting at the precautions, I'm going to copy and paste from here down. And that's just going to go right at the top here, up until where it says knee mobility, or range of motion, active range of motion, passive. Hit Control V, and in the specialty section now we have our post-operative precautions copied forward from our initial eval. We have when we're going to be taking our different outcome measures. If you want this bigger, all you have to do is right click, hit cell width. I'm going to put in 1200 or so, and that will expand that out. If you want to expand the first column, you certainly can. And so for this one, it's going to be a little bit wider than the other ones, and I'll put 2000. Boom. All right. And there I have all my calendar dates in a row. This would have previously copied over the initial information. And then I do have other functional metrics that I take, such as patella mobility, tibial rotation, hamstring extensibility, other things that I would measure for the knee. You can keep these or delete these, and we can even discuss this at our upcoming team meeting. Okay, and then what is new for the eval, or excuse me, for the first daily, is that your visit 2 has populated, and these are all your interventions for the first phase. And so often what I will do, and again, we can dialogue about how other people do it as well. So say if I've already done something, say I've already introduced them to blood flow restriction training, let's say I've already done compression garments, that's a good example. I'll just hit cross out, and then say we've introduced blood flow restriction training, but I don't want to cross it out because it's still ongoing. I just hit .prg, and it just says progressing and the date at which it was progressing. At a future time point, I could come in and I could cross it out. Another thing that I do to show me what's coming up next session is I just do a double star, or I will bold it, or I'll even change the color, your choice, so that when I at the end say this is all we got through, we just did warm up on the bike and some modalities with orientation to neuromuscular electrical stim, I'll just hit .tdv, and it'll give me like the next week, or the next note I would hit in TDV, and that would populate that. Or I could just hit, I usually type in next session. That's what I'm trying to do. There we go. Okay, but very quickly I can just populate what I want to do next session without much consideration. Additionally, for reference, I've already typed it there, so I could just go like this. Boom. Because that's already going to be, the next session is set. The next session is already going to populate below. All right, and then I also have my reference for what is my post-operative protocol. So you have the interventions with the specific volumes. You have your phase 1 quadriceps targeting, day A and day B. You have your strength exercises broken up into day A and day B, or day 1 and 2. And then you also have the neuromuscular neuromuscular exercise progression. So that all your reference for interventions and prescription is right there in front of you. The final thing that populates that you do need to be diligent about, we all do, is tracking the clinical milestones and where they're at. So if I blow this up with F3, you can see that usually I'll put in like .tdn, today's date, and I'll put in +2, and I'll be updating this as we go. They're still at +3 as of today. But once they have actually achieved it, you're going to put in the date of whenever that is. The significance of this is that we're also going to be capturing this in Patient IQ so it can track the specific dates and times since surgery that they pass these clinical outcomes. Which is going to be critical when you do like a post-analysis to look at what is the expected timeline for someone post-ACL to be passing in from phase 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and so on. So this is, and it also keeps us on track. And what I've also done is given you some guidelines, and these are predicted. So then if the individual has like would be arthroscopic, I'm expecting them to be getting through phase 1 by 6 weeks. If they have a reconstruction or repair or reconstruction, I'd expect 8 weeks. If they've prolonged protected weight bearing, such as like an Oates procedure, and they're not weight bearing for 6 to 8 weeks, depending, well then obviously that's going to be a little bit longer. And so this will give you some guidance before, in the absence of actually having this data where we can pool our data and look retrospectively at it. And then I've just done the same for each of the different criteria. Again, the further out we go, the harder it is to predict, but again, it gives you some guidelines. And that's the end of the SmartPhrase. So then if I just walk you through the anatomy of your daily note, your assessment's already completed for you. You have subjective with the different phases. If you want to defer and you want to populate all this in the sidebar, or excuse me, in the normal non-rich text fields, great. I find this to be a little bit more efficient and to also get the job done. And then functional status, over time I will usually do things like this, where .tdn, today he's not yet working. Sleeping, how's that going? ADLs, how are those going? I'll check in on that. If you want to take other objective measures and you want to do so through the tab, by all means. And then the specialty section is really where the SmartPhrase begins. Again, you'll have your precautions in front of you. You'll have your immediate date as far as when you need to take the next measurement. What you can also do is time goes on. You can also just hit delete columns and it will shorten that up for you so that you don't have to continue to look at more material as time goes on. Your clinical reported outcomes, again, you can delete some of these if you don't take them on a regular basis, but these are the things that I often track. And then we have our visit 1, visit 2, and so on.